Hey, hey.
Morning. How you doing?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. Had a late night studying, so
Good, good, good.
that I don't look too tired, but I'm excited. It's nice to have this opportunity, Manaya.
No problem, no problem. I'm excited too. It's like every time I get on the podcast, it's a new excitement that enters.
Feel you. I feel you.
Okay, so I'm just going to get straight into the intro. Welcome, guys, to Let Me Talk My podcast. You are now tuning in with your host, Manaya Kid. And today we have a special guest, Tony D. Hansberry II. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining. I really appreciate it. I'm just going to give you guys a little background about Tony. And I have my laptop right here, so I'm going to be kind of like going back and forth. Tony achieved his bachelor's in chemistry at Florida Agriculture and Mechanical University in 2015. Tony also achieved his master's in interdisciplinary medical sciences at Marzani College of Medicine in 2019. And now Tony is currently in medical school at Morehouse School of Medicine, graduating in 2024. Wow. That was a
Excited.
lot, but all of it was so great.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
And I just want to ask, wait, go ahead.
basically spent my 20s in school, but it'll be worth it.
Of course, of course. No matter how long the journey is or everything that comes with it, it'll all work out.
For sure. For sure.
So the question I wanted to ask you is, how old are you?
I'm currently 27 years old.
Okay, so you're 27 years old. That, to me, my opinion, that's so young. And like, how does it feel to be so young but achieve so much already?
Um, Honestly, as I'm starting to creep up to 30, it's starting to get more like, what do I want my life to look like? So I've really been focusing on kind of answering that question. So right now, I'm just excited. I'm thankful for the opportunities. Literally, I kind of tell people that I'm no special person. I'm not a genius or anything like that. The project that I was able to do just came from the fact that I was in the right place around the right people with
Mm-hmm.
right opportunities. And I was blessed enough to be able to take on a project and then for it to be able to benefit the school that I was currently at, which we were starting out as a new school, a new program to show people what we were doing. And so it was just an amazing opportunity. And so many amazing opportunities have happened since. And so it's just been an incredible ride. Incredible ride.
That's good. Okay, so you said it's all about your environment and being around the right people. Do you, like, growing up, did you ever have any like distractions?
So I have a twin brother. And so
Mm-hmm.
growing up, we were basically just together all the time. My dad is a pastor. My mom is a registered nurse. And so, and only have an older sister. So didn't have too many distractions. Um, we were good kids, just focused on school. Um, I'll say we never, when you have people that come to functions and they'll tell the black children, you don't have to grow up to be just a basketball player, football player. You can be a doctor, a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
It was funny. I think my brother and I took that pretty literal because he was considering going into law school and medical school was always where I wanted to go. But because I'm a first generation medical student, I didn't really have someone to kind of push me towards what I should be doing. And so I kind of just had to learn as I went. So distractions, not really, but a lot of challenges, most definitely.
And how did you deal with those challenges? Because, like, for everyone, like, if you have this particular goal or you're on this journey, of course, challenges are definitely gonna come. That's something definitely guaranteed. But how do you deal with that?
It's no quick and easy way or answer. Every time something changes a little bit, it just depends on the situation. Um, I think I always try to remind myself that while nothing good ever lasts all the time, same with nothing bad. Nothing bad is going to
Mm-hmm.
last. And so I kind of try to keep that mentality and try to stay as positive as possible. Don't neglect my feelings of, not feeling good or not admitting that I don't like the challenge. It's not just a be positive 100%. at a time. No, you sometimes do need to take the step back to appreciate the challenges. And so really I just try to continuously coach myself through that. This is temporary. Um, this is going to allow you to become what you always said you wanted to become. And in
Mm-hmm.
skip ahead, but then one of the questions, it was asking if you can accomplish anything. And I like that question because I think that's something that I've been thinking about recently, is that you can accomplish anything that you mind to, for sure. But I think people glamorize the idea of just saying that you want to do something or having a
Mm-hmm.
dream. And to me, having a dream, speaking into existence is the easy part. But really understanding the sacrifices, the challenges that come with making that dream a reality, that's the difficult part. And that's where a lot of people might falter a little bit. And
Right.
so being in medical school is a constant challenge. It's not all bad. And at the end of the day, you're learning to take care of people. And I try to remind myself it's not supposed to be easy. You have someone's life in your
Mm-hmm.
future. They want to make sure that you're equipped. So the purpose of medical school is to make sure that when you get out, you can save people's lives. Um,
Right.
and so I try to keep that in the back of my head. But yeah, goals, anything can be reached, but you have to work for it. And you have to be willing to make the sacrifices.
Yes, preach. So true. The journey's never going to be easy. Like, I'm telling you, it's
Right.
all about your mindset. And it's like you have to have tough skin. The fittest of the fittest survives, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the case. Yeah, it's difficult, but it's doable. And I think, like I tell people now, it's really the hardest part about medical school and probably many professional programs, nursing school, law school, is it's really about training your mind to
Mm-hmm.
be resilient.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, with us, we have exams, maybe 6 exams at one time, and they come about every 4 to 5 weeks. So you're continuously studying, and of course, you're building up your knowledge, but you get more stressed as the exams come around. And
Right.
then go through the very stressful period of exam, and then you kind of jump right back to studying for the next set of exams. And so, for instance, if you don't do well on a certain exam, you don't really have time to be sad or to be upset. You kind of have to
Mm.
understand where you went wrong, pick up and move on quickly, because everything is coming so quick. You don't have time to not be resilient.
Right,
Honestly,
I get it. Yeah.
yeah, you fall off the horse and you have to get up, brush yourself off, and get back on.
And keep looking forward.
So that's one thing that I do like about medical school, is that you do have to keep going. You can't stop in the middle.
Cool, cool, cool. I love it. I'm like visualizing it as you're saying it. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So let's get into these questions. I know everyone wants to know so much about you. In your bio, it said 2020 you joined the USA Army and do health professions scholarship program with the intent of becoming a military surgeon. What was the Army like for you?
So, like you said, I did just join. So it's been an incredible ride so far. I've had the opportunity to do some basic training and
Mm-hmm.
basic officer training, and things that I really never thought I'd do. My family is not necessarily a military family. My sister was a Marine at one point, but other than that, I never thought I would have gone this route, honestly. And when the opportunity came, I thought about it and I said, you know what? I think that would be a smart decision, and it would give me the opportunity to do something very different than the
Mm-hmm.
typical medical student. Um, and so it's been a great ride. I don't know too much about it, or I haven't gone through enough to really give a very firm background.
Mm-hmm.
But so far, it's been a blessing, and I met some amazing people, and yeah, it's been amazing.
That's so cool. And when we were talking, I'm like, you have a nice, what did I call it? I think it was like a life resume, life resume. No, seriously, I'm like, one day you can tell, like, when you're older, you can tell people, like, I did this, I did that, and you have so many great stories to tell people, you know?
Yeah, it's a blessing. And like I said, it's all about opportunities. And I've just been abundantly blessed with opportunities. to get me to where I've always said I wanted to go. But
Mm-hmm.
it's been good. So like I said, I'm the type of person, you don't know when we'll die. You know, we're supposed to make the most of this life that we have now.
Of course.
When opportunities come, go for it. And so I'm excited, you know, one day I might want to study in another country, or might want to be active as a physician in another country. And I'll be able to get the opportunity to do that with the Army. And that was something that excited me. So,
Mm-hmm.
right.
That's so cool. So cool. So overall, how does it feel that you will be a future lifesaver?
Feels amazing. It's an honorable position to be in, a humbling position to be in. One that you're always learning, you're never going to be perfect at. But
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy people. I enjoy helping people. I enjoy really finding out about the deepness of people. And so I'm excited. That's what I'm most happy about, is that opportunity to really change people's lives. And it sounds cliche sometimes, but I love my school, Morehouse, so much because as an HBCU medical school, it really focuses on understanding underserved and minority populations and their health profiles, and working to make sure that we can benefit those types of people. And in learning that, they teach you so much about the background of people. You know, a lot
Mm-hmm.
may look at someone, and you may judge them and say, well, why did they have this health care, or why did they wait for this long, or why don't they trust the medical system in this way? But Morehouse really gives you the chance to learn and understand different factors that went behind it.
Mm-hmm.
They may live in a community where they don't have access to a medical
Right.
facility,
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
safe uh, uh, um, sidewalks, so they can't walk to a
Right.
facility. The buses are not in service. You know, there's so many different factors. They may not have healthy food in their neighborhood, and
Right.
so
Exactly.
it teaches you so many things are factored into the lifestyle of someone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's, I think, what a lot of future physicians need is places like Morehouse, places like Howard. And I'm not saying just the HBCUs are the ones that are cultivating this,
Right. Yeah.
but um, as we see, minorities, African Americans have declining health profiles compared to white population. A lot of disease
Mm-hmm.
that we both will get, African Americans are more likely to die from, etc. And so every future doctor needs to understand the factors that go into that. And that's the humility part of serving others, is understanding that everyone is different, but everyone still requires the same
Mm-hmm.
amount of empathy and care.
Exactly. Wow, this is so great, and the fact that you're aware of all this. Listen, I just got like a future vision in my head of you having your own practice one day. Never know.
Uh, hey, never know. Never know. My grandmother,
Never know.
she says, just God keep me around to see you in your practice. So you never know. But yeah, I enjoy yeah, and I think that's what makes a good doctor. Someone who's competent, knows what they're doing, but also is able to connect with people. Because
Exactly, like
yeah,
genuinely care for the patient.
yeah. And so so I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it.
Cool, cool. Okay, so what type of doctor do you plan on becoming?
Uh, you know, I haven't decided yet. And
Mm-hmm.
honest with you, it changes, and changes for different reasons. So when I came into medical school, I wanted to be a surgeon.
Okay.
Um, I was fascinated with the lifestyle in terms of being able to physically change someone's life right then and there,
Mm-hmm.
see different things every day, uh, high energy type of environment. But going through medical school and kind of being at the age where I'm at now, I kind of realized that what's most important is being able to go home to a family, being able to travel, being able to see the world,
Mm-hmm.
you know, not realizing that as a physician, I don't want physician to be my full 100% life. I want to have other roles as well. And so because
Mm-hmm.
of that, my ideas for what I want to become have shifted a little bit. So I'm considering things like emergency medicine now. I'm even considering internal medicine, because a lot of people don't realize, but I believe that the health of the society is really built on primary care physicians. Those are the people,
Mm-hmm.
pediatricians, family care doctors. Those are the people that the normal person, the everyday person goes and see.
Exactly. Yeah.
A lot of diseases couldn't be prevented if they're caught early and if the right measures are put in place early. And so that's why those positions are so important. But before coming to medical school, I didn't know that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I start to glamorize the more impressive medical
Right.
stuff. So I don't know, but this is my second year of medical school. I will be so excited once it's over, and I move into third year, and that's when I'll be able to have the opportunity to do some shadowing and rotations and kind of get a good feel for where I fit best.
That's the fun part.
It will be. It will be. I'm going into it very naively, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Some people suggest that it's difficult, a different kind of difficult, while we want
Mm,
more book work, we'll have to start to become actual physicians. And so,
that's true. Yeah.
no, I've learned that nothing is ever all good, nothing is ever all bad. You know, you have a mix of both, and you just have to
Yeah. The
find
balance.
the balance.
That's so cool. I mean, your family and friends must be so proud of you. How do they feel about all of this?
They are, and I have such an incredible support system, and I think that
Good.
that has been my rock for this experience. It's funny, my mom actually wanted to be a physician herself
Mm-hmm.
at one point, and that's eventually she became a registered nurse. But because of that, I kind of she says that she lives vicariously through me. The benefit with that is that she's been allowed to be on this journey with me. She's encouraged me so many times. I didn't have,
Great. That's so good.
I when I first applied to medical school, I wasn't accepted, and so I decided to do a master's program to not only prove that I was capable of handling the rigor of medical school, but I needed to make sure that I could handle the rigor because as an undergraduate student, I became very involved. I joined fraternity organization. I was involved in SGA. I went to an HBCU to be involved, and so one of the consequences from that was having to do a little extra to
Mm-hmm.
to
Right. Yeah.
but yeah, they've been nothing but supportive, and they'll always come through asking about my mental health, um, asking about my energy, kind of repositioning me back because there are days where you kind of just think, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
You know,
No,
you
I
can,
understand.
you
Trust
know,
me.
hey, why, and those are the days where it gets hard to realize your why, um, to realize the purpose of what you're doing. And so family, friends have been incredibly important to like realigning me back on that path. So
I think like a support team is so important in anything that you're doing. Like I can relate. I have a really supportive family, and like sometimes you think like, oh my gosh, where would I be without my loved ones? You know?
oh
Because
really? And
doing it on your own, it's good because at the end of the day, it's you and yourself. But it's like sometimes you need that push when you feel low. You know?
you, yeah, and I'm the type of person, I don't feel like anybody can never do anything on their own. Uh,
Exactly.
Doing it on their own, they're likely not at the places where they could be if they were getting help from other people.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I agree. You need to have people that you can lean on. Um, for instance, when I'm going through this process, sometimes I just need to be reminded. So many people have done it before.
Exactly.
So many people will do it after you. Like, and I think that's also a funny thing, a humbling thing too, is when you kind of not dim yourself, but when you see how you fit in the bigger picture. You know, I'm
Mm-hmm.
a person going through this process, and I hope to be able to make some type of impactful change as a physician.
Mm-hmm.
But I've kind of had to get out my head and stop thinking like, oh, you're the only person who's had this challenge. You're the only person who's done this before.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
start
Sometimes
real.
you think so too. You're like, I'm in this alone. No one understands. And you're like, wait a second. I'm not
Yeah,
the only one on this bus. There's a lot of people, you know? But I think it's really important to find people you can relate to. Am I correct? Like,
very correct.
you
And
know?
people who you relate to, people who you can build off of.
Exactly.
It's so important to have different types of friends too. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I have friends that I'll go out with. I'll have friends that I shoot pool with. I have friends that, you know, I just go and do brunch with, you know. Um, and then I have friends that, you know, we're not even that close, but still when we reach out to each other, you know, the connection is there. And so, like you said, you have to have the right people around you. You have to have a spirit of discernment to know who the right people are. And then
Exactly.
that's really, really incremental.
And I feel like distractions can come easily. Like even if you're not even thinking about it, you're like, oh wait, I'm getting off track again, you know?
Very much so. Very much so. And that's the challenge of medical school too. It's seeing it's like that. Yeah, remember the meme where I think Squidward is inside and he's looking at SpongeBob and Patrick having fun outside.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
notice
yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I know which one.
That's really what medical school feels like. Seriously, it's
You're
it's,
like, dang, look at
it's
everybody out there.
everybody, and you just thinking, wow, so many people are enjoying their lives, or they're doing what they want to do, and I'm here literally like you can't see my view, but I'm in front of a window. So I'm looking out, looking at people enjoying their lives, and I'm sitting here 12 hours a day studying. But and so distractions are going to come. Sometimes you need to have distractions. Sometimes they're healthy because you can't study 24/7. You can't do one thing all the time. You have to break it up, give yourself a mental break. Um, but you also have to be mature enough to understand what type of distraction would just take you too far out the way.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I
True.
said, the constant, every day you kind of have to be mature and say, you know what, I would rather do this, but this is what I said I want to do. This is preparing me for what I want to do. I have to make this sacrifice. And that's really what it comes down to.
Okay, so I feel like you can be a big inspiration to like the younger generation right now, or just people in general of any age. What were like what you just said, how would you sum that up in a message to those in need that need to hear this right now? Like if you can come up with a quote or a saying or
Um, mm,
I just put
okay.
you on the spot.
Something to the extent of you can accomplish and you can be anything that you want, but you have to be mindful of the challenges and the sacrifices that will be required to be made in order for you to become what you said you want to be.
Mhm.
I think so many people make the idea to do something or have the idea to do something and they're so excited and that energy just falls down as they go through the process of getting what they want to get. But I think that's the case. You can be whatever you want to be. You just have to be willing to make the sacrifices for it. And that has been something that I've kind of kept at the back of my mind. Um, it's not an easy road, but it's definitely doable and it's definitely needed. You know, we need to have more African American physicians. That
Exactly.
you know, and so
Of
that
course.
also, yeah, that also alone. I hear so many people who are physicians now, and they'll talk about how they may be having a hard day, but it's so much better when they walk into the room of a patient who looks like them, and it's the
Yeah.
you know, a lot of African Americans don't trust the medical system. They don't, and I think a lot of it is because they don't see enough of themselves in it.
Mhm.
Hard to believe that you'll receive good care. You know, like if your mom was taking care of you, you'd feel okay. I know I'm gonna get,
Right.
you know, but if a random
Yeah.
person taking care of you that didn't really make a connection with you, you don't feel like they resemble you in any kind of way. You know, you're gonna be a little more hesitant, and so
Mhm.
but this field certainly needs more people of color, more diversity, not just Black people. I think it was funny. I ran across a statement, and it said that majority of African Americans who are in medical school are from places like Nigeria, African
Yeah.
color.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
I sat back and I thought, and I said, wow, you know, that actually is pretty true.
Yeah.
And there was two thoughts that came from that. First, it's amazing that the diversity, you know, when people say black people aren't a monolith, that really is the case. Having so many different types of black people to care for future patients is amazing.
Hmm.
Because if I have a patient who may be Nigerian, um,
Hmm.
we're still, even though our color and our skin tone might be the same, we're
Exactly.
people based on our background, our experiences. So I also say that it's important to also have um, more African Americans coming into the medical field because, like I said, people of color come from a vast array of backgrounds, and so just looking like someone is not enough either. Um,
Right.
I can look like you, but if I can't understand your background, if I can't understand why you do what you do, then
Right.
what good is just looking like you? You know,
Exactly.
that's what I say.
Wow. Well said. I'm telling you, Tony. It's
You,
so true.
you.
Great things are coming your way. I'm telling you.
I feel it. I feel it. I have my moments where I'm just thinking, this is not. I don't like this.
Hmm.
And when I did the project so many years ago, literally almost half a lifetime ago for me. As I come up to 28, and I did it when I was 14. But I used to get really irritated when it kept getting circled around. Um,
Say, repeat that again. I think the audio went out.
I got irritated when it was recirculating because
Okay.
I didn't feel like I was living up to the expectations so many people had for me based on
Hmm.
doing that project. But recently, maybe in the last 3 or 4 years, as it started to recirculate, because it kind of recirculates every year, and it's been a
Hmm.
blessing. It kind of just reminds me of my why, reminds me of my purpose. It keeps me pushing. You know, those days where I don't want to study, I don't want to do something that I know I need to do, and then seeing my picture just randomly flash up on a timeline, I'm like, oh wow, people still know about it, or people are still mentioning. You know,
Yeah.
no, I have to do this now. I have to finish this now. So it's also been a source of inspiration for me, to be honest, to keep going.
Right, right. Okay, so who is your inspiration? Who is that person that roots for you that's like you got this, like in the back of your, like telling you like you got this, keep going.
I have to split it really between my
Okay.
grandmother, my mother, and my dad.
Okay.
Um, so my dad is pretty laid back. You know what you got to do, son. I'm here for you. You know, do what you got to do. My mom takes more of an active role.
Yeah.
She, and my grandmother, she's amazing as well. She was actually a radiographer for 40 years, so she was in medical
Oh
field.
wow.
Yeah, so those are the people who continuously push me.
Yeah, you
Um,
have great role models in front of you, and I
I,
think that's so important.
I do. And now I have a couple of mentors. Because like I said, I think one thing that I've found doing more is acknowledging my mental health. I think
Mm, that's
that's
important.
and that's something that the second year has definitely charged me to do is to acknowledge, when I'm not feeling good, when I'm not feeling right, and to talk to people and to get help and etc. So, but yeah, I have a lot of different people that I look up to.
And how do you balance that? Because you even mentioned you're like, I'm in this room, I'm studying for hours. How do you balance your life and say, okay, this is enough. Let me do for me, my mental health.
I have been trying to find the right way to do that. Um, I think one thing that's been a challenge for me, I've never been a person to be okay with doing one thing. I've always like,
Mm, me too.
hey, like I said, I went to FAMU as an undergrad student to be involved. Now, should I have been that involved as a future medical student? Probably not. You live and you learn. But
Mm-hmm.
that's been the challenge now is realizing that for this period of time, I may not be able to do a lot. You know, I may have to just study. That might be the sacrifice that I have to make. So to answer your question, I'm still learning how to be okay with making the sacrifices, to be honest. Um, you know, I one thing that I love to do now is shoot pool. So that usually is my stress relief. But
That's
recently,
cool. Hmm.
recently it was, you know, because there's just so much information, so much work to be done. Um, and I just have to tell myself, well, Tony, you got to push through it. You know, you got to deny yourself of that so that you can, you know, continue to do what you need to do with this. So
Hmm.
it's not easy. It's
Of
not easy.
course.
It sounds like it's something that's easy because it certainly isn't. And that's where
Hmm.
stress comes from, knowing that you might not be able to do things. You know, but it makes me so much more grateful for this experience. It also makes me more appreciative of people who are currently physicians, people who are nurses, people who work in the medical field, people who devote so much time to taking care of others.
Right.
Really humbling. I mean, and even as a teacher, I taught for a couple of months too.
Hmm.
I thing I like about myself is I try to do a little bit of everything. So I've worked in the banking industry. I've worked at a hospital in the surgical unit. I've worked at I worked at Hertz, a rental car company. I worked at J.C. Penney. I've worked as a teacher, and so I've
Oh,
had
wow.
so
Well
many.
experienced.
Well, experience just taught me how to better connect with people. Um,
Hmm.
and so even, but like I said, as a teacher, that was the most humbling position because I was a teacher at it wasn't it was in Harvard, you know. A lot of the students there were challenged, and it wasn't a challenge in terms of them academically being challenged, but that was an eye-opening experience in terms of, you know, a lot of students may not have parents who can devote time to helping,
Yeah.
you know. A lot of students may have only a one parent household, so therefore their
Hmm.
parent is working 2 or 3 jobs to take care of the family. The parent doesn't have time to sit down and talk to their child and to do homework with their children, and
Yeah.
so the child falls behind, and the system kind of just tosses them to the side and doesn't really acknowledge the many different factors for why they may not be able to do well academically. And so
Exactly.
teaching 6th and 7th grade students, and my heart really broke, um, because for the first time I saw everybody doesn't have the same opportunities. And that's why when you first asked about the project, I was so I made sure to mention that it was an opportunity and that I wasn't really anything necessarily special or, you know, extraordinary. It was just I had an opportunity, and that experience teaching those 6th and 7th grade students and knowing that a lot of them didn't have the same opportunities. And that was the only difference between where I'm ending up and where they may end up. Um, and so you know, I hope that my story more so provides an opportunity for people to see what they can do, what they can
Right.
be. And I don't like to glamorize my story. I don't really post much about my struggles or anything like that. I'm not one of those types of medical students.
Yeah.
You know, some people have blogs and things like that now,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
it works because people are curious about the lifestyle. But I'm more of a private person. Um, but yeah, it is. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. I'm
So
enjoying it.
you just said something and it made me think of a question. You said you had an amazing opportunity. There was nothing special about you. Do you ever have like those people that are so negative? They're like, oh, look at him. He thinks he's all that. Like they think that you have it all.
Oh yeah, and I mean, you know, you're always gonna have people who aren't gonna like what you're doing, and
Mm-hmm.
I've realized, first of all, take yourself out the situation. It's likely
Mm-hmm.
about you. If you want to be honest, it may be something done, maybe, but most of it is, you know, how they feel about themselves, how they see themselves, what type of traumas they have that are being repressed, and you may bring that trauma out. You may bring that negative feeling out. So a lot of times, and then of course I don't even get it. I think that's the amazing thing about medical school is that you have to focus 99% of your energy onto your studies. You only have
Right.
one that you could put elsewhere. And so you have to be very mindful about where you put that 1%. So I don't worry about people who may not like me. How I think of in my head is I don't have any enemies. I don't have any people who don't like me. I think that's just because I don't do anything wrong to people. I treat people right. Uh, and then if I realize that we're not going to be a mesh, our energies just don't mix. I say, you know what? I'll pray for you. Have a good one. And,
Yeah,
oh,
and that's the proper way to deal with it, to be
yeah.
honest.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You
That's
always.
just like another add-on to the distraction that you got. You're like, what, I'm on this path. Can't let any of that.
And you're right with that. It's very much so could be a distraction if you don't know how to give your energy and how to set boundaries. Very much a distraction.
Yes, yes, for real. So I have a couple of questions I feel like would be good just to end this off. Geez, this is so small. Oh, okay. What tip of advice would you give to someone with procrastination?
I trying to remember the quote that I found regarding procrastination. But it's gonna always work against you. And
Mm-hmm.
you just have to get to the place where you realize that you just have to do things that you might not want to do, but you got to do them. And I think once you do that, then you'll, and like I said, procrastination does look different for everybody, though. And so it's not a one size fit all. But I would probably say the same thing that anybody would say. But there's times I still procrastinate.
Yeah.
And so you learn that at the end of the day, procrastination doesn't produce the best results, and you learn a lesson from that, and you change. If you don't change, then the learn just probably
Yeah.
wasn't enough.
Yes, yes. How do you stay motivated?
Mm. It changes. It changes. Sometimes the vision of what my life could look like motivates me.
Ooh, I
Family,
like that.
yeah. But also I've learned to not think too far ahead into the future. To enjoy
That's
right.
important.
Yeah, very, because we can start planning for how things are going to look, and how to
Mm-hmm.
get there, or when you get there, but you don't know the process of what it's going to take between what saying what you want and actually becoming what you want. Um, and then also sometimes that process might lead you to another destination, and you don't want to be so trained on how you saw your life or how you envision things that you miss being able to do something that you really enjoy or that makes you happy. So staying motivated, every day is a little different, to be honest with you. Some days I'm just like, okay, I'm motivated because this wasn't an easy route for me, and I prayed for this, and I'm living now in this prayer. So that's the motivation. Some days it's you need to do better on your exam, maybe. So that's a motivation.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
there's so many motivations, and they all kind of hit differently. Oh,
Mm-hmm. Exactly. What is the best way with dealing with fear?
it's to be honest with yourself. Acknowledge
Mm.
why you're afraid. Acknowledge what type of setbacks you have. Really just be very honest with yourself about why you're afraid of something. Is it because you are afraid of failure? And that's one thing, actually, I was talking to my therapist, and he said, I think that you're just afraid to fail, and I kind of thought about it and said, you're right. Who wants to fail? Um, and a lot of people going into this field are type A people, so we're very critical, very specific, and very high.
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't want to fail. You never want to think that you will fail. But it's true, in failing, you learn so much. And sometimes even more than you would if you had done everything right or done it perfect the first time. And so you have to be honest with yourself about why you feel the way you feel. You can't sugarcoat it or glamorize it or lie to yourself. You can't deceive yourself. You just have to be completely honest. And then you have to determine what am I able to do about it? If I'm not able to do anything about it, then maybe it's teaching me that I need to be patient, or I need to be more understanding or more accepting.
Right.
If it's something that I can do about it, maybe it's also teaching me patience. Maybe I'm not able to do what I want to do right now, but how
Hmm.
best way future wise, or maybe it's teaching me that I need to stand up and face whatever I'm afraid of. So that's how I would deal with fear. You just have to be honest with yourself and understand what you do to change the outcome.
Yeah. And sometimes I always think of the things that I were scared to take the chances to do. And then when I do it, I'm like, look, it wasn't so bad, you
Exactly.
know?
You're always your biggest critic, and that has never been more true. You really are.
Someone asked, what if procrastination is caused by depression?
And that's the case. And that's when you do have to get help, in terms of you have to figure out what helps you get out of that depressed state. For some people, it's talking to family and friends. For other people, it's being medicated. There's so many different avenues that you can take. Because when you talk about being depressed, of course, you can't be productive. Um,
Right.
so you have to address the depression first.
I
And
agree.
that's when you can then move forward. It's kind of like the roadblock. You can't, our train is coming through and the tracks are going down. You still can't go past that track until the train
Because
goes.
it's there.
It's
Yeah.
there, blocking you. So
I feel
depression,
like you have to search for that root and you're like, oh, this is what's causing it, whether it's stress, the people, the environment, you know?
I definitely agree. I
Yeah.
definitely, so yeah. So you have to address the depression first, and then you can, work on not procrastinating.
Yes, yes. Wow, this episode's so good. I just have a few more questions. We went a little bit over, but it's just because the conversation is so good?
I appreciate, when you sent me the questions, I was like, these are really, really good questions. I was like, but I don't think it's going to be able to fit in 30 minutes. But no, it's first. I've enjoyed
Yes,
my time.
yes.
I've enjoyed
But that's okay. What are your thoughts on education? How important do you think it is?
it. I'll say this. Education is very important, but there's so many different types of education. And
Mm-hmm.
um, everybody is not a person who's going to do good in school. That's not everybody's um, strong point. But I think that if you know what you want to become, and you know what you're going to have to do educational wise, I think it's amazing to be set up um, before to do that kind of stuff. So I say that to say education is fundamental. It's very important. But it's not the only thing. It's not like you have to have this certain amount of education to be successful. People are starting businesses now. People have a
Mm-hmm.
career, and their education may not have been as dense as other people. So, but yeah, it's very important, but still, it's not a necessity.
Right. And not everyone's fortunate, financially, the way people are raised. Like, even if someone wanted to take that route, it's like sometimes you just can't. And I feel
And
like there's
that
no exact correct way of how to go about things in life. Like, everyone's different, and what works for you works for that, like, works for you. You can look at the
is
next man and be like, oh, they did that, so I'm gonna. But
exactly, and
everyone's different.
opportunity. So I did work a little bit in undergrad because I wanted to pay for my off-campus living in my car. But there's some people who have to work throughout undergrad. There's some
Mm-hmm.
people who that don't have the financial ability to go to medical school. And so then that's when it comes back to the humbling thought of, you know, what makes me special sometimes is that I was fortunate enough to have these opportunities, and opportunities that other people worked hard for me to get to. And I think that's an important thing to remember, is that, like you said, you're not doing it alone.
Mm-hmm.
There's always somebody, people there in their hands in the pot, helping you in some way, directly or indirectly, to allow you
Right.
to be what you want to accomplish. So
Yes, speaking facts. Okay. What quote do you live by and want to share on this podcast?
Mm. Actually, the funny thing is, I'm looking up because I have my okay, still going. I have my two boards here that I write my notes on. I'm a big
Oh
quotes
yeah,
person. Big quotes person.
me too.
Yeah,
I have them like on in my bathroom when I wake up, so I could like read them to myself, get the day started.
exactly. Yeah, I love quotes. So my favorite, one of my favorites, actually, I'll say this. It's not my favorite, but it's the most recent one. It says, sometimes doing your best is not enough. Sometimes you must do what's required. Um,
Mm.
and that kind of came about when was just comfortable with doing my best. Because I think that's also a trap sometimes, is that,
Yeah.
your best is all you can do. Um, but there comes a time where you have to be honest with yourself and say, yes, this is my best, but this is not what's required of me. More is required of me. And so you have to
Mm.
change your way of thinking to say, hopefully my best will meet the requirements as well. Because you can do your best, but if it's not enough, it's cute, but it's not it.
Mhm.
So I think that has been my most recent quote that I kind of try to remind myself, like, yeah, you're doing your best in some things, but if it's not, or what, if you're not reaching requirements, then hey, you gotta go back and do better. But
Mhm. And you
what?
know what? That will be the title for this episode.
So now, you said that you're a quote person. What's your quote?
um, I still live by this quote, and I fell in love with it. My favorite quote is, "Don't gain the world and lose your soul."
Ah, I
I
like
feel
that.
it's by Bob Marley, but I feel like that is an important quote because I feel like a lot of people base their lives off of riches and houses and accomplishments and achievements, but what about you? You know, just you without the money, you without the glitz and glam, you know? And I feel like people
I
think that's what when people are like, "Oh, I'm successful." That's what they think of. I have a car, I have money, I have a wife, I have a car. But it's like,
I
what
agree.
about you? What
I
is the
agree.
inside like? The
One of
outside may be pretty, but what about the inside?
Right, right. And one of my family members, we had a conversation, and they were just saying that, and excuse me, this person is maybe late 60s or so.
Mhm.
I haven't found my passion yet.
Mhm.
I haven't found what I really enjoy doing. And I was really sad by that, because it showed me, what you've been doing has been to survive. You just
Mhm.
been haven't really been living. And that's kind of something that I always keep in the back of my head. Make sure that you're setting yourself up for a life that you enjoy, not just one that you have to do. Um,
Mhm.
actually enjoy doing. You feel like this is what you're called to do. This is what you're passionate about. Because why? You don't want to leave this earth. You don't want to die not knowing what was your passion, your contribution to the world.
Purpose. Yep.
So that's is like you said, it's very important, very important.
Of course. I fell in love with that quote and I was like, wow. And sometimes I have to remind myself that too. It's like you're chasing so much, but slow it down. What about you?
Exactly. No, you're completely right. You're completely right.
Yeah. Mhm. There was something I was gonna say about that quote too, but I forgot. Geesh. Okay, maybe it'll come back to me.
You're right.
Um, it was a good one too. Forgot. It was so good. Damn. Okay, whatever. All right, so we went over like 20 minutes. Whatever. That's okay. It's probably like an hour show, but it was good. It was worth it.
Right.
And I always ask my guests a fun question. You
Okay.
already know what it is. Someone I know saw the advertisement of you and I on my podcast, Let Me Talk My Shh, and text me right away asking if you were single. So the lady wants to the lady wants to know if you're single.
Yes. By choice. Some people, and I'll say this to say, medical school has made it difficult to really do anything other than medical school.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have amazing relationships. I have classmates that are getting engaged. And every time they get engaged, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so happy for you. But like, how do you like, what is this? I mean, because like you're really married to your books, like seriously.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what some people prioritize. And I think that's so important to realize that you don't have to give up everything. You do have to give up some things. But you have to prioritize what you're going to keep.
Yeah.
For me, a relationship hasn't been a priority.
Yeah.
Over priority has really been school, and then to also focus on myself, learning what
Mm-hmm.
I like, learning my triggers, what makes me somebody who might not be the best in a certain relationship. So that's kind of my, I think a relationship for me would kind of distract me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because I wouldn't be able to give the time and attention to the relationship that I would want, because
Exactly. You're doing you.
I'm for a life that I would like to enjoy and have, and so no, I'm single by choice. It's been about a good 5 years now, so it's
Yeah,
but
yeah,
like
yeah.
I've been in school my whole 20s, so
Mm-hmm.
maybe when I'm 40, I'll finally get in a relationship.
But that's
No,
okay because love has no age.
it does.
People fall in love when they're like 80, 90 years old, you know?
It doesn't, and everything happens in its right time,
Exactly.
and
Exactly. And wait, go ahead.
no, you go, you good.
I was gonna say I do music, and one of the first songs I put out, one of the lyrics was "committed to myself like I had a ring."
Okay, nice.
So,
I like. I
so
like
just a piece of advice for you, like, so what? Who cares,
I like that. Committed to myself like I have a ring. Okay. Okay, that's a new one. I like that. But
Yeah.
but no, I just no, it would be a distraction. It would be a distraction.
Mhm. I get it. I get it. Well, I love this show. I love this episode. It was so good. I see a lot
Was
of people in the comments saying thank you. They enjoyed it themselves. I appreciate you being a guest on Let Me Talk My Shh. I have to invite you over next time again.
yeah, for the opportunity. I'm still gonna be trucking on this journey. 2 years from now, though, I'll be posting a picture in some type of uh suit or something, happy that I graduated. So it's an exciting journey, and I'm glad that there's people who are traveling it with me. And thank you again, like I said, for the opportunity.
Of course. Before we end this, you guys follow him on Instagram at DEMARCOGQT.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes, and tune and tune in next time for Let Me Talk My Shh. We're out, guys.